Hello, friends. Welcome to, I don't know what it's called, boot camp, maybe. Today, we're going to be focusing on some practices you can do as a support player to learn a bit more about the game and to speed up your improvement process. We're going to be focusing on Crystal Maiden, but you can do this with any hero. And joining me today is Alex, which you have seen a couple times. Say hello,
Hey everyone.
Alex.
Yes, excited to be here. I'm excited to learn from a mortal level player. A few people get an opportunity like this, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm gonna get schooled, guys, and you're here for the ride.
Yeah, it's not just Alex getting schooled. A lot of people are around the same rank, around Crusader, Archon. So, and even if you're not, I'm still gonna say it's good to watch this video, not just because I'm trying to bait out views, but also like I think this is something a lot of people don't do. Um, so today's plan is understanding your damage in the lane. So we're gonna cover spells, auto attacks, and then combining the two. Sounds super basic, and yet in my experience, from not just watching your games, but then a lot of the replays that people send to me, a lot of like what people do does not make. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's just not efficient, and so it's like it is a fundamental thing, but people are missing it. So that's what we are starting off with today.
Actually, when you bring that up, it's funny because like one of the things I do when I lose a match, I like to look at my replay to figure out like, okay, what were they doing that made their team more successful? Like, what were we doing? I look at all the charts and the graphs and net worths and stuff like that. And one of the things I realize is that like I'm often inefficient. You talked about efficiency a second ago, and like you're right, efficiency is everything. And I think that like especially in the early lane where like you're spending like the way you use your mana, that's all about efficiency, especially when you're maiden. Like you basically shoot at a Crystal Nova one or two times and that's it. Like you're done. So you want to make the best of that spell cast, right? So I think like you talking about efficiency is huge, huge. So I don't think you should talk it down. I think it's a really important part of this.
Well, then
100%.
I'm glad you're talking it up because I agree. And yeah, because sometimes I'll watch anyone like sometimes even my own like games, and I'll be like, why did we just cast a spell? And it makes no sense. We're gonna see. So Alex isn't looking yet. What you guys are seeing in the video.
I
So
can't see anything.
okay, yeah. So he wanted to try to do this blind a little bit, and then he'll look at the ability descriptions later. So first, Alex on Crystal Maiden or Crystal Nova.
Yeah.
What you don't need to have the exact values, but what are the effects of this ability? Like what happens when you cast it?
So it's a damage and slow in an AoE. The AoE range is I know what it looks like. I couldn't tell you the actual unit numbers in Dota,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
okay.
a slow and damage, yeah.
On damage. What kind of slow?
It's is it 40%?
Oh no, not the amount. It's a
Oh,
movement
okay.
slow.
Yes, the movement speed slow and oh wait a minute, hold on. No. There's an attack speed slow in there too.
Mm-hmm.
It's movement and attack speed. And for 6 seconds, right? Oh no. I'm doing this on purpose. I'm doing this blind because I played so many games of Maiden, but like I've not actually paid that much attention to the skill. Is it possible? Okay, hold on. It's attack and move slow, 6-second duration, and it's 130 damage AoE. Am I right or wrong?
A lot of it is right. So it is
Uh-oh.
it is 130 damage. That's actually one of the more important things for you to know. So that's pretty good.
Okay.
And yes, it is an attack and move slow. We're not going to worry about the
Ooh,
specific values right now.
okay.
It's 4.5 seconds,
Oh, okay. 4.5
but
seconds.
that's pretty
Got it.
good. And
Okay.
so for all of you out there, this is right. Some of you probably know Crystal Nova, but if you get asked about like all the abilities, even I don't know them. Many of us take the abilities for granted because we play so long and eventually it just becomes feeling. But sometimes I think it is good to just like look at the numbers and see, and then just start thinking about how to make the most use out of each ability. Because say Crystal Nova, the only thing a lot of people think about is the damage,
Mhm.
and I see it get thrown out just for damage, and that's kind of a waste because then you're not making use of everything else. So, take a look at the ability now, like hover over it so you can see the
Yeah,
description.
sure.
We're gonna go top to bottom and tell me what each of these means to you. And we're even starting up higher than you're probably expecting. The
Sure.
ability is a point target spell. What does that mean to you?
To me, that means I hit the Q and then I actually have to hover my mouse directly over a specific point and then release the spell.
Hmm. How, if you were to go like really in depth into it, like what else would you add to that? What does that mean for you that you can just click on the ground?
That means that, like, I don't have to target anything in particular. I don't need to target a hero. I don't need to target a creep. I could target if I think someone's hiding in trees, or I can target a warding location, like up on a higher ground or anything like that. Like I can target anywhere. Is what it kind of means to me.
Exactly. So again, sounds super basic, but then we take it for granted. You don't actually need to see the target to cast this ability. Sometimes you do, and a lot of times you will want to see them, but then other times, maybe they're running through the trees, you can still get them with this spell. And that can come into play when choosing like what order of your spells to use, because some spells cannot hit a target by just casting on the ground. So it is good to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and actually, like recently, I had a Clinks running away from me, and I actually like he did his walk, and I actually hit him with Crystal Nova because I anticipated where he was going to be, even though he was invisible, and I got the kill. So
Yeah, that's another thing. You don't need to like even if it's not in the trees and they're invisible, you can still hit them.
mm.
So yeah, that's pretty good. So damage type, magic. This one, straightforward. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, straightforward, sure, because there's magic, there's physical, and there's pure, right? But the thing
Mhm.
that I think that I don't want to speak for you, but I think that like you look at the damage, it being 130, and then you forget that there's obviously magical resistance built into each individual hero, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to be keeping in mind as well.
hmm So then off the at the start of the game, so our focus is in the laning stage, so like levels like 1 through 5. We're not even going to talk about the ult actually, spoiler alert. But but at this point everyone has the same magic resist to start. It used to not be that case, but now everyone does. It'd be really weird to see anyone start with a a cloak or anything. So everyone has 25%. So yeah, it is important to try to remember that this ability, jumping down a little bit, says 130 damage, but you're getting a little less. It's like 97 and a half. I think I was trying to do the math earlier to be ready for this. But like even I mean, I don't do math that well on the fly, even though it's like a fourth, but it's like it's 130. That's weird. So
Yeah, it's a weird number.
you just have to have a general feeling of like, okay, it's about like 100 damage or something. If you guys like numbers, you can do that, but otherwise, eventually you just develop a feeling. And later on, people will get magic resist, and you have to remember that. But at least in the lane, don't have to worry too much. There's actually one other thing about magical damage, um, about when you can use it or not. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it's mana dependent. Is that where you were
True, but
going,
not what
or
I was going
okay?
for.
Okay. um, can you repeat the question?
It was worded vaguely. Um,
Okay.
I'll just say it. Magic
All right.
immunity is a thing in this game.
Yeah, of course, BKB, yeah.
BKB, a couple spells, and
Well,
so
Lotus and what's it called? Lincolns aren't immunity, but they impact magical
true.
abilities. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that that kind of goes back to that ability point target. There's more, even more.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so you do have to remember that like if there's BKBs in play, if there's spin, rage, stuff like that. I mean, you can cast a spell, but it's not gonna do anything unless kind of the next point pierces spell immunity. This one does not. Before we go to the others,
No.
let's jump ahead. Do any of her other abilities pierce immunity? Do you remember?
No, she does not have any spell piercing immunity. Like,
hmm
no, she can't pierce BKB.
Right. That's pretty important for you guys to know. Again, sounds basic, but when there is a hero that has BKB or whatever spell immunity, it's important to know what abilities you have that can cancel like a teleport out if they are trying to BKB and TP out. You want to make sure you don't use this preemptively if you need it for the spell immunity.
Yeah, but like honestly, like this is such a huge point because like spoke about just before we went online, we spoke about how like I love Razor, and in my lower level games, like in the Crusader area, when I play Razor, guys will run up on me in BKB, and I'm like, and I'll just static link them anyway, and they don't understand what's happening. They're like, because they don't realize that spell like pierces BKB, so
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff is it happens all the time, right?
hmm
Yeah. So
Honestly,
having an understanding there is kind of important.
honestly, even you were like static link, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it pierces BKB. Like,
Yeah, it
I'll forget
does.
it too. If you don't see a hero enough,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Razor's not popular right now. And I
No,
think
not
on
at
the
all.
stream like 2 days ago, I was talking about things that cancel teleport, and I was like, I think Tiny's toss cancels teleport. Like suddenly you start doubting yourself.
Oh, yeah. Another example of that is the other night, someone told me to buy a force staff to counter Chronosphere. If they're like, oh, if I get stuck in
Nope.
Chrono, force staff me out. I'm like, buddy, it doesn't work like that. He's like, yes, it does. I'm like, no, it doesn't. And he's like, yes, it does. I'm like, am I out of my mind? Yeah, you're 100% right. Like these characters, the game is hard, man. Game
Yeah,
is
there's
hard.
a lot of niche mechanics, and that's why I think even though some stuff is fundamental, it's like good to like refresh, just not forget. And then
Yeah.
last one, dispellable. What part of this is dispellable? Do you know?
It's the slow effect, the slow of the movement and the attack slow.
Yep. So
Yeah,
you
and
can't really change.
basic dispel will do it.
Yeah, you can't change the damage, but you can at least get rid of the slow. Very uncommon that anyone's like, gotta get rid of this slow, dispels it.
Yeah.
But it is good to know. All right, so let's move down further. Radius. What does that mean to you?
Radius means like the actual like size of the targeting area, like the circle, the impact area, I'll say.
So this is an AoE spell. How do you get the most out of an AoE spell?
By positioning it so that the most people get hit. Like whether they're on, it does equal damage whether they're hit dead center or on the periphery.
Yeah, at least this spell does. There's a couple,
Yeah.
specifically Sunstrike that comes to mind that does split the damage. But most AoE spells, like you said, it doesn't matter how many targets are there, as long as they don't have like magic resist or anything, then they all take that damage. So this is like number one. When I see this used inefficiently, any AoE spell and someone hits just one target with it, and it's not worth, well, like maybe it's worth it, but sometimes it's just like random harass, and that is not worth it because you really want to hit multiple units, 2 enemies in the lane. Right now it's a 2-1-2 meta. So if you have an AoE spell, why are you only hitting one hero? Or you have the option to hit some creeps. When is a good time to make use of this?
Like I try with specifically speaking with Crystal Nova, what I try and do is I try and time my harass by hitting both heroes within its AoE while also securing the range creep. That's usually what I try and do.
Yes, and that is what you should do, because that's the most, like, think of all the things you're getting. You're getting damage on one hero. You're getting damage on 2 heroes. You're getting a last hit, and that last hit, it gets you gold. It's securing XP for your team. It's multiple objectives being accomplished at once, and it's possible because this is an AoE spell. So some people they kind of forget it. They know it's an AoE spell, but they don't think about hitting these multiple objectives at a time. So it is, when you see an ability, you see it's AoE. Like, you have to think about this. Move slow. How do you get the most out of a move slow when you're using this?
Well, it all depends. I mean, if someone's trying to like run away, and you're like, if someone's trying to escape, you can hit them at any point in that radius to slow them down. You can also use it as an escape. So if you're being chased, you could pop it behind you and try and run away. That's how I would use it.
Nice. If you
Am I
were
missing something?
No, that's pretty much it. If you were chasing someone and you use the slow, what I want to highlight that a lot of people don't make use of is that on that chase, you should attack, move, and kite. I guess it depends on your objective, but many people will they'll hit someone with the slow, and then they'll just stand still and auto attack. And then the person like slowly walks away, but then they get away because the person was just standing still and auto attacking instead of using that time to keep up and auto attack. Because if you don't slow someone and they are the same speed as you and you're not trying to kite, when you stand still to auto attack, they get away. And so the fact that they're slowed means that you can auto attack and then catch back up and auto attack, catch back up. And the fact that this slow is 4.5 seconds means you can do this several times.
And yeah, Maiden's one of the slowest heroes in the game. So
yeah, true. Okay, attack slow. So you actually almost forgot that this had an attack slow. And I'm guessing a lot of people momentarily, yeah. And I'm guessing a lot of people forget that it has an attack slow. So how do you make the most use of an attack slow?
Well, I would suggest at the start of a team fight, like hitting the most heroes possible, like their carries in the radius right at the start of the team fight, so it's under cooldown during the start of that fight, especially at level 4 where it's basically they'll be under that attack slow for half the fight, more or less half the time.
It's true. What about in the lane? Let's say the game just starts. We're not thinking about team fights yet. How can you make use of the attack slow? There's like 2 things that come to mind.
To be honest with you, I'm not. I could guess, but I don't have. I'm gonna say I can guess, but I don't know the answer. Okay, let me guess.
Guess
Would it be
what's
to potentially allow for better trading if your carry goes in for a few trade hits?
yes, but it doesn't just
Okay.
have to be your carry. You trade right clicks too, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So when you go to right click, this is one of the uses for it. Sometimes people will throw the spell out early, but it's not in the middle of a right click trade. So they get some damage. They maybe make use of the slow a bit, but they don't make use of the attack slow at all. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you do want to make use of it, and we're gonna show that off
Mhm.
later a bit.
And it's not an insignificant amount of attack slow either.
Yeah, 20 doesn't sound a lot, but it is like a gloves of haste. It's like
I was gonna
500
say,
gold
yeah.
worth of a slow, and then the higher you get, of course, the better. And
Mhm.
for one auto attack, you're right. It's a little insignificant. But the fact that this is 4.5 seconds means that if they stand there and trade for a little bit, like that 20 builds up, and you end up with like one, maybe two auto attacks more than they get. And that
Mhm.
we're gonna get to that
Absolutely.
next with auto attacks. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And then the other use, which doesn't so much apply to Crystal Nova, but some other spells does, is that if you slow someone's attack speed, they have trouble getting last hits. So you
Yeah.
can use it to mess up the enemy when they're trying to get a deny on your range creep or trying to get their own last hits, and you slow them down and you sneak in an auto attack just barely. That is pretty high level, and
Yeah.
I don't even make use of that very well, but it is, it's something to think about getting the most out of this spell.
Yeah. I'm just laughing because in my head, as you were saying, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty high level. I would love to do that. And in my head, I'm picturing what my lanes look like in some of my drafts. And I'm like, oh, it's me with Crystal Maiden and my safe lane Dark Willow. Like,
Yeah, so
that's a
yeah,
conversation for another day, baby.
maybe we don't need to use this, but it's good to know that, we can.
Yeah, I had a safe lane Tiny the other week too. That was great. Anyways,
Safely Tiny is a little better than Dark Willow, I
yeah,
would
yeah,
say.
yeah. I digress. Yes, but
Okay, duration 4.5 seconds. So that's not the damage. That's the move slow and attack slow. We kind of covered it with the others, so I'll just say it. If you have the chance to chase them for 4.5 seconds, probably make use of that 4.5 seconds. Think about whether you're going to be able to chase them for 4.5 seconds. Say they're under the tower already and you hit them, and it's like, okay, they're slow, but I can't really chase them under the tower. So I'm not really making use of that. But if they're like further out in the lane, there's a lot of distance to go before they get back to the tower. That slow is
mhm.
now pretty useful because they have to run all the way back, and you're getting the like the full duration out of it. Or if you're right click trading for 4.5 seconds, you don't want them to stop in the middle of it because then you're not making use of the
Yeah,
slow.
absolutely.
And then the damage, this is the one that everyone thinks about, and it's like it's true, like it's the damage, but I want people to think about those other elements as well and how to get the total package out of a spell. Because, Crystal Maiden, 130 mana. That's a lot. In
Yeah,
fact,
no
we can
kidding.
go down to that. Like, what do the cooldowns and the mana mean to you?
What the cooldowns of the mana means to me is that basically I can cast 2 spells before I'm out of it. And nothing's more frustrating than watching a guy with almost no HP run away where you know you could secure a kill, or at least secure a kill for your carry with like a Frostbite or a Crystal Nova, and you just have no mana and you already used your mangoes. Because even one mango just equates to one spell at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that, the mana is huge. So like while you're talking about efficiency, it's like we don't want to waste the spells either. So like yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
The man
exactly.
mana's everything at the early part of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, okay, Crystal Maiden's like one of the most extreme examples where she gets like two spell casts and that's it. But because of that, like, I want to get a lot out of this. I don't want it to just be this random 100 damage harass and then not make use of like any other element of the spell. And
Mhm.
that's what I've been seeing a lot. So here we are. And the cooldown, something to keep that in mind is just like, okay, how frequently can I do this? If I were to go for a kill attempt, how long does a kill take? If a kill takes 10 seconds, but then my cooldown is like 30 seconds, okay, I get to use the spell once. But if the cooldown's like pretty low, and 11, 11's not too bad, it's kind of like medium, that means like maybe we can use it twice in a single fight, once at the start, and then hopefully
Yeah.
like once at the end to secure the kill. So keeping in mind your cooldowns is uh, it's a good way to decide like what's your max potential in a like prolonged fight, but also once you use a spell and it goes on cooldown, that's your like weak period where you have to wait before you have this spell again.
Yeah.
And you may cast a spell 4.5 seconds, they don't want to fight you. Suddenly that slow ends, your spell's still on cooldown. Now maybe they want to fight you. This is one
I
of the
just
big.
have
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. No, you go. You go.
Okay. Even though we're talking about Crystal Maiden, what I will throw this out to is someone like Lion who has a stun. And what a lot of people will do, you'll start trading with the Lion. He'll stun you. You take a bit of damage. Lion will keep hitting you in that time. And then people get scared. They took a bit of extra damage. They're getting hit and they back off. They back off when Lion is now at his weakest without his stun. And many people don't have that instinct of like, I am currently less health than him because he cast his spell. But actually, this is the time where I need to pursue Lion and now win the trade. Because if he just keeps trying to right click me, I still have my spell, or maybe I just have better damage and armor than he does. And like, this is the time to actually trade. And so when people feel like, oh, Lion, like right now, Lion's so bad, but like, sometimes I'll still see people feel like it, like, oh, how do you beat Lion? He just stuns you and wins the trade. He's like, you are not finishing the trade. You're backing off too soon. That is what the cooldown on a spell means. When they are weak, that is when you want to pursue and look for those trades. All right,
What I
what were
was
you
going
gonna
to say
say?
before I totally interrupted you, was that I had this moment of clarity, no pun intended, when you basically said that okay, so if we're using Crystal Nova just for harass, right? It basically equates to like let's say 100 or 110 damage based on magic resistance. But realistically, the auto attack of CM starts between 44 and 50. So basically, I expel 130 mana, half my mana pool at level 1, and I basically just get 2 right clicks worth of damage. So like when you talk about efficiency, it's like, well, if I'm just looking to do damage and harass, I literally just have to right click twice and get this nearly the same amount of damage as opposed to using half my mana reserve and my spell. Of course, unless I hit multiple heroes. Otherwise, because there's with a radius type spell like Crystal Nova, I can the more heroes I hit, that's just free extra damage, right? But if I'm hitting just one hero, I may as well have just right clicked them twice and saved
Yeah,
all my mana. So
you
I
know,
hadn't made that thought. I hadn't made that connection that like, wait a minute, I could just auto twice and it equates to one hero getting hit by Crystal Nova. So
you're a teacher, so I'm sure you get this feeling where the student has picked up on something that's going to be later in the lesson.
oh no.
No, it's good. I'm glad you're putting that together because that is exactly it. When people throw out spells just for damage, I like kind of die inside a little bit. Unless the spell is like only meant for damage. But some of these spells do not do a lot of damage. Like people think they do because they're spells, but it's like actually that's like 2 right clicks and you would have saved 130 mana and you would have saved like 11 seconds on your cooldown, right? We just talked about like this is when you're weak. So people throw it out, they make themselves weak, they use their mana, and it's like, dude, just right click that guy. It would have been way better. So we're gonna get to that,
Yeah,
and we're
you're right.
gonna show it off a little bit later. All right, let's move to Frostbite. So the first one took a while, but now it's gonna go a little faster, I think, because we kind of
Yeah, I'm not
covered
gonna
the.
hover Frostbite yet, so you can test me.
All right, so okay, just let me know what does Frostbite do?
Okay, Frostbite is a root. So they can't move, but they can still cast spells. It does damage. It keeps the hero rooted in place. It has an increased amount of duration on a hero as you level it up. Also increases the amount of damage, but it does a set number of damage to creeps.
Yes.
Yeah,
Can the enemy what does the root do? Let me change the question. What does a root mean when you root the enemy?
the root will not like. Whoa! Now I'm thinking. No, it will not cancel a channeled ability. Or whoa! No! Wait. Uh-oh. Because I'm just thinking. Because I've never frostbitten another CM before. Um.
There's a couple other channel
Oh,
abilities.
I know. Like Bane. If I frostbite Bane. Oh my god. Well, that stops that. Yes, it will stop a channeled ability. No, but it's not a stun. No, what's happening to me? I don't like being put on this spot. I should have checked. I should have just checked. Oh, okay. Okay,
No,
I'm okay. Final answer. It does not. It does not stop a channeled ability.
The answer is, it does not.
Yes! Yes! I should have followed my instincts, damn it. I should not have questioned myself. Okay.
Does it cancel a teleport, though?
Yes, it will cancel teleport.
Yes, and that is an important
Yeah.
distinction. Roots will
I knew
cancel
that. I knew
teleports,
that.
but not channeled spells.
Yes, okay. Wow. That was so unnecessarily stressful, but you're so right. Like, I played so much Crystal Maiden, but like when you really think about the abilities, like you really think, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. And like you build these gaps and like your understanding and like you start to question yourself. But this is like a good questioning, right? Like that's the difference. Like if their carry is TPing because like he's about to die and it's like a level 27 Sven, and if he dies, you win the game. And you go in and you try and queue him first because you don't realize your Frostbite's gonna prevent the TP. Like that's a game losing decision. That's MMR left on the table, right? So that no, what a fantastic thought process there. Anyways,
And
I'm going on a tangent.
above that, it also affects your choice and itemization. This is something that because I play like Crystal Maiden, I play Treant Protector, and I think, okay, I've got a root, I can cancel teleports, and like the opponents, they're still, so like it's kind of set up, but yeah, I can't cancel channeled abilities. And if they have like a Bane, or if they have like a Witch Doctor, I may need to purchase something that helps me cancel that ability. And sometimes people forget that. They go like Force Staff or Glimmer. And then suddenly the Witch Doctor just there ulting, or the Bane is just like holding your carry, and you're like, that carry was all my damage. We just lost this fight. All of us just like hit Bane, and like we couldn't kill him in time to cancel. And I could have like built a Yules. I could have done Scythe is a bit too far out, but you know, the carries could have built Basher. Like thinking about this, realizing, okay, teleports are good, but abilities, they're not. Like a Rod of Atos will not help us save someone from Bane. And it's really important to remember that. One other thing about roots.
So what you're suggesting is that as Crystal Maiden, if I'm against Bane, I first item build Orchid.
Depends on who else is on your team.
I'm kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke.
Maybe though. Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like that would be a pretty fast report, but anyways.
Yeah, it would. One other thing about roots. Can people auto attack in your root?
Yes. Am I wrong?
They can't.
Wait, what?
People cannot.
Hold on. So you're telling me, wait. So if I should know this. Why the hell am I so confused?
Honestly, I'm about to admit something I don't know about roots, so I don't know if you should know this or not, but
if I root, hold on, because now I'm thinking, I've never remembered the last time. Like if I root a Drow Ranger, is she not able to trade back? I've never thought of it. I just root her and then she gets dumped on by my whole team. I don't really pay attention to what's happening. I don't really. Okay, you're saying she cannot trade an attack back.
She
can cast spells.
Yes, she can cast spells. Yeah. She cannot auto attack. To be honest, guys, for a while there was there were different rules for different roots, and that is what like suddenly I'm doubting myself. Like I don't know if all roots do this, but I know for Crystal Maidens, because I specifically had to test it to double check before this video, you cannot auto attack in her root.
Okay. Now that you say it, it makes perfect sense. Because now I'm thinking, I always see like the hero will be rooted and kind of like shifting in the root.
But they're not doing anything. Exactly. That's them like panicking, like, let me do something.
You're right. Yes.
All right.
Well, she could multi-shot. She
can multi-shot and probably just kill you because she does a lot of damage with it.
Exactly.
But your team will come up and they'll finish it off.
Yeah.
Okay. Ability, unit target. What does that mean?
It means you are selecting a very specific target. Like you have to select a creep, a hero. It can't be friendly though. Has to be an opposing.
Yep. Which means you need to be able to see them. So going back to so Crystal Nova, you don't need to see them. Frostbite, you do. So for example, if someone was about to run into the trees, which spell should you use first?
I Nova and then I Frostbite, because Nova will leave like it has like a lingering vision presence. So then I can Frostbite after. Yeah.
That works too. You can also Frostbite first because you have vision of them, and then if they run into the trees, you can hit them with the Frostbite or with the.
Sorry, I assumed that when they were in the trees, I couldn't see them.
Yeah, sorry, I meant like as they're getting into the trees. But yours, like honestly, yours work too. It depends on the hero. Like sometimes I would do the same thing. But then the benefit of doing like Frostbite first is say, okay, you see them right outside the trees, you hit them, they run into the trees, you lose sight. you hit them with the Crystal Nova. Now you can see them for a little longer. You can now get a couple more auto attacks off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you get to make use of that slow. While they're like slowly in the trees, you can like catch up or something. Affects enemy units. We said that it's magical, same as before.
I'm gonna hover over. I haven't hovered over.
Oh,
it
go
yet.
ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
here we go. Yeah.
All
Okay,
the
now I'm
rest of
back.
these is kind of straightforward. The dispellable matters more this time rather than
Yes,
the
it
last
does.
one. The slow and the attack speed like weren't such a huge deal, but Frostbite root that can be a big deal. So the enemy team may dispel it. That is good to
Yep.
know.
Like when I play Ricky, if I'm frostbitten, I use a Manta to get out.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Damage is 150. Is that a lot to you?
Yeah, well, it's more than Crystal Nova on a single target.
True.
It's not that much. It's not that much, but it's enough.
I would say it's a decent.
It's the creep damage that really excites me, honestly.
That's true. Honestly, I wasn't even going to talk about the creep damage, but we can. We're here. We're breaking down her spells, so why not?
You mean jungling isn't a thing anymore? Damn it!
Actually,
I thought meta Crystal Maiden was ignoring lane, running into the jungle, and jungling until I don't know level 15, and then having your towers get stomped in.
Maybe it'll come back, but for now, no. This is what I'll say about the creeps. If you, let's say you're Jungle Maiden, you're going to go jungle a camp. How do you do it?
Well, first you mute everyone on your team and ignore the reports. And then what you do is you frostbite the strongest of the camp and then take down the weaker ones while he's getting. And you got to auto him once or twice to take him down. That's the way I do it anyway.
There's a more optimal way to do it.
Teach me.
All right. you already know. You're like, I don't know what it. Some of the jungle creeps. So there's two things. Some of the jungle creeps have magic resistance auras, which is part of why you have to auto attack a couple times. Because even though the spell does 1,000 damage, some of the creeps have, well, some of them just have slightly more than 1,000 health. But some of them, like the Centaur camp, they are being affected by magic resistance. And that's why you end up having to auto attack a couple times. So what you should do, you auto attack the camp, pull it out, then you frostbite the biggest creep, walk a bit to the side, and then you can hit those little creeps. That means the big creep will take more damage because he's not affected by all the magic resist the whole time.
Oh, I see.
And because the creeps will run back and forth, you're now no longer just tanking damage. Like sitting there auto-attacking those creeps, they're hitting you. So if you pull it out first and then you do that trade, you're going to take less damage. It's generally just going to be like a couple auto attacks faster because instead of having to auto attack the big creep like 3 times, you just took more magic damage because he wasn't next to the magic resistance auras. And so you save yourself, like, for Crystal Maiden, who's like a little on the slow side, you know, that's like 2 to 3 seconds.
A little on the slow side.
Her auto attack's not too bad. Her speed is slow. Her auto attack is okay.
It feels slow, man.
The whole animation is slow, but just getting the auto attack off is like pretty fast itself. That's gonna matter in a little bit. We're gonna get there. And yeah, like you said, the hero duration increases. So I don't feel the need to talk about it too much. But going to the duration and the mana cost, this is a low cooldown spell, 9 seconds down to 6, but the mana cost is really high for Crystal Maiden.
Yeah.
For that reason, I know someone here likes to take her aura level 2 and sometimes level 3. Right?
Oh, I've been called out for this in the past. Yes, I have been known in the past to even take 3 and 4 levels into my aura before going. I often skip my alt to finish my aura and then go back to Nova over Frostbite often. So I'll often be like I'll often have like Nova 2, Frostbite 1, and then Aura 4. I've done that before, especially if I have like a mid laner like Zeus or Pugna or someone like that.
Many people do like to do that. And it kind of used to be the way to play her.
I'm gonna get so roasted here.
I'm hoping this changes your mind. I hope this video will change your mind. It used to be the way.
Change my mind and change my life, please.
This is gonna get you like 500 MMR.
Here it is.
This single tip, guys. All right. So people used to do this, and Crystal Maiden. One of the reasons I picked her for this is because many people when they're not feeling confident, they're like, I'll pick Crystal Maiden, I'll just provide an aura. That's all I'll do. And I think that's like
That's all I'll do. That's all I do.
I think it's a waste of the hero. How
Yeah.
much level 1, do you know what the mana you get is?
I'm not hovering it. I'm not hovering it.
Okay.
So I know Maiden gets double. Maiden will get double the effect. I believe it's 1.5 mana. She gets 3, and everyone else gets 1.5 at level 1.
Guys, I've switched to it. Alex can't see it. Don't worry. He's not cheating.
I'm not cheating.
Yeah, so
Yes!
she
Success.
gets 1.5, her teammates get 0.5. What is that?
Whoa,
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
wait,
Is it
I said I get 3, they get 1.5.
Oh, no.
So I'm wrong.
You're wrong. Sorry, my bad. I got distracted switching the slides.
Okay. I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
I got caught out. I wasn't listening to you. She gets
Damn it.
1.5 level 1. Is that a lot or a little to you?
That's a little. That's not that much.
I would say it's okay, but thinking about the lane, which lasts 10 minutes, usually, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But even thinking like, okay, choosing between W and E, level 2 versus like level 3, for example. So like, let's say there's like a minute or two between the two levels. So it's like, how much mana am I getting in that time?
Does it offset like a clarity?
Yeah, offset of clarity, or like, can I use another spell in that time that I have this spell? The answer is, it does not. So I should have sent this one to you. You can't see it. But I have a table here. How much mana do you think you get in a minute? It's 1.5.
Like,
I'm not going to put you on the spot with math. It's 90 mana.
I was gonna say, okay, I was doing some interesting little math in my head. Thanks for saving me there.
Don't worry, I'll save you from it. It's 90 mana in 1 minute. And that is a decent amount, but it's not enough to actually cast another spell.
No.
And her teammates get 30 mana in 1 minute. And there are very few spells that only cost 30 mana. Now, that's not to say it's bad or anything, but to me, I only take this when I can't do anything with W. Because W, I think, actually has a lot more potential impact. I'm going to go on
What's the situation where you can't use W, though? Like, by W, we mean, like, Frostbite.
Yeah. So, I'm going to go on a slight tangent. The reason I think Q and W are very... You have to think about both. Like, both are viable options. QW or QE. QW is viable because it's actually a ton of magic damage. And I know for a fact you don't realize this because you never do it. Tell me list some supports that you think are high harass with their spells.
Witch Doctor? Am I wrong? Witch Doctor?
No, yeah. Sorry, I forget you can't see my camera. I was like nodding along.
I would say Witch Doctor. I would say position 4 Silencer harasses a ton. I know that's not that common.
What about like Lena or Tiny? Would you say they're like high harass heroes?
Lena's great because with LSA you can predict them coming in for the last hit and hammer them with it. Tiny?
Does he have a lot of magic burst?
Well, yeah, if he avalanche into toss, yeah, he does. But like that's more of a combo. I don't think he can sustain that.
That's fair. Okay, let me rephrase it then. In that combo,
Yes.
Tiny, you would say Tiny has a high magic burst combo.
Yeah, Tiny can kill you. If Tiny gets his hands on you, you can die. Yes.
How much damage does Tiny do?
With that combo?
Yeah.
Oh god. 300?
Very close.
Yeah.
So level 1, Tiny he picks avalanche or toss. Well, that's my dog. Can you hear that?
Yeah,
he gets 75 damage or he gets 90 damage, depending if he takes one or the other. Then, because of the way, I have no idea why it works that way, when he uses both together, he gets like 3 times the damage from avalanche. He has 315 damage.
Oh, 315. Okay.
At level 2.
I knew it was a lot more than I knew it was a lot. Like the combo is savage, yes.
So 2 spells, he uses a lot of his mana pool, he gets 315 damage. Everyone knows this is terrifying. How much magic damage does Crystal Maiden do with her Q and her W?
It's like 280.
280.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. You're actually not. You just hit me with something that you're right. Like I feel when I know Tiny's in a game, the ability for him to gank and just kill you as soon as he walks out from the fog is such a threat. And you're right. It's basically 35 mana difference.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And
Okay.
okay, let's sticking with Tiny. When Tiny is level 3, he now does 540 damage.
Okay.
As Crystal Maiden, I will frequently go QWE. My third
Yeah.
level does not give me any more damage, which means I'm still at 280. So even if we're the same level, me and that Tiny, he hits level 3, I had a lot of magic damage. I technically still do. He has way more than me now. He has
Way more.
so
Yeah.
much. And so if you put off the W point to like level 3 or 4 or later, you fall off so much compared to the other heroes who are maxing out their spells that do damage. And even
Yeah.
if
Like
you take,
you're not a kill threat at all.
yeah, even if you take like your third point in Crystal Nova, that's 40 more damage. Or like Frostbite is 50 more damage. I mean, that's not like, actually, it is kind of awful, to be honest. The scaling of spells is usually way higher.
Yeah, they don't scale that well.
And so when your abilities don't scale well, it usually means their level 1 is really, really high. And so we use Tiny as an example, but actually a lot of heroes do not have 2 spells that do a lot of magic damage. Take Snapfire. She's a hero that has 2 spells that do damage. Her Q does 80 damage, 120 if she's on top of you. Her Cookie does like 70 damage. It's relatively quite low. And obviously there's like more balancing into all of that. But like Disruptor, he has a very high damage level 1 spell, 180 damage. But then his level 2, he could take W or E. Neither of those give him damage.
No.
Back to level 3, he now has 280 damage. Something Crystal Maiden has at level 2.
Yeah.
Which of course she has to use a lot of mana, but that's why she can go for kills. And I think when people only play her for her passive, they miss a lot of kill opportunities, not realizing that if I take W level 2, I get 150 damage, and I root them for 1.5 seconds so we can like auto attack a couple times in that period. Of course, it's going to take a ton of mana, but that's what mangoes are for. And if you get a passive point, like your spells cost like 130 mana, 140 mana. Like 1 point in your passive is not enough to let you use these spells repeatedly, and you kind of need to use them both to get that huge burst of damage.
Are you suggesting that taking points early into my passive forces a passive playstyle?
That is.
Wow.
So when would you?
You're right.
So when would you take QW versus QE at level 2? You kind of just said it, but
QW versus QE.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I have someone like a Zeus mid, Medusa, I think could really benefit from Medusa. Save for mid could.
I don't care about them.
You don't care about Medusa?
I don't care about Zeus or Medusa at between level 2 and level 3. Let's say that's 2 minutes. That's giving them like 60 mana. I don't care about them. I'm only thinking about my own lane. That first in this decision, whether I go QW or QE, it's not about my team.
Ignoring the rest of the team, so just focusing on our lane.
Mm-hmm. And that's not just like a hypothetical. Like actually ignore your team when making this decision.
Okay. I don't know if I have the answer.
That's okay.
Because I've always placed it from the onus of if I'm taking my passive, it's because I'm seeing heroes on my team that I feel would benefit early from the passive, not so much myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay that you don't know the answer. That's what you and the viewers are here for. So, yes, I mean it's great to help your team with that mana, but like honestly, between getting your W at level 2 versus level 3 in terms of mana for them, it's not a big deal. And people play those heroes without Crystal Maiden all the time. And they're not useless, right? Zeus, he can play a game without a Crystal Maiden. He likes when she's in the game, but he can still play. And so if you delay giving him mana for like 2, 3, even like 5 minutes, he can play the game. It's about what you can do in your lane. QW gives you the potential to kill people, even by yourself. I get like solo kills with Crystal Maiden when the enemy 4 is not respecting my damage. And I'm not saying that as a way like, oh, you should know this. I didn't know this. And like that's why I had to start playing Crystal Maiden, because I would play against her and I would think, oh, she's so fragile. Like I'm going to bully her. I'm going to win. And then I'd like feed like against her on like multiple heroes. And I'd be like, what is happening? And I had to like look at her abilities and realize like she has so much damage. When she gets like so many mangoes, it's like I thought she was this fragile hero, and she is, but then suddenly I can't auto attack. My auto attack is slower, and she just bursts me with her spells, which are low cooldown. I try to run away, I'm like slow, and it's like my abilities are off cooldown again. Boom, you're dead.
Okay, so I have this question then.
Okay.
So with your at level 3 then, if you're not taking your aura and you want to focus on the damage, obviously you have mangoes and stuff and you're running clarities when you're stacking and pulling and stuff.
Mhm.
Um do you prioritize something like Frostbite if you're with like an Ursa or a Jug? And otherwise, you go with like Nova to increase your kill potential. You know what I mean? Like if you're with an Ursa, you'd want to get that extra half second lockdown, wouldn't you? Like, how would you pick your third point? Is what I'm kind of curious.
Mhm. So first, I will say by level 4, I definitely have my passive,
Oh,
and
okay, so you are gonna put a point into it. You're not gonna go like you're not just gonna skip right through it.
yeah, I'm never gonna skip right through it. At least by level 4, I will have at least 1 point in it. By level 3, I personally like to have 1 point in it. I feel that Q and the W at that point have done enough for me in the lane. Like hopefully I've gotten a kill or something, maybe even 2. That has already shifted enough for me at that point. And now, instead of wanting more damage to do that, I just want to be able to do that more often now. And that's when the passive starts to be better because it's like, okay, first I pick the spells that let me get kills. Now I want to be able to use that, right? I don't want to get 1 kill and it's like, all right, I'm out of mana. That was my 2 mangoes, right? You have to buy some regen, but then like the passive will save you some money and it'll slowly get you more mana so that you can do this again. Like, hey, we got to kill 1 minute. Give me a minute. More mangoes on the way. I just regained like 60 mana from my passive. I can do this again. We can get another kill. And like, because your abilities are fairly low cooldown, and if you're buying regen, I think the level 1 of both spells is kind of enough to get kills. Some people I see do like to prefer like a second point in Q or W at level 3. I think you're heavily going for kills if you do that. I think getting 1 point in E starts to let you have a bit more flexibility. Like I'll just go pull. I'll help my team like with the aura, like you said. At that point, it's kind of more okay to use your aura.
Yeah, because I guess if you don't have that mana regen, like even if you buy like a Ring of Basilius or something, it's not going to give you enough. So you'd be investing in like clarities, mangoes, and the Ring of Basilius, and that's a ton of money. It slows down your tranquils,
mhm.
and you're still probably not killing anybody. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Plus the idea
Interesting.
is like, okay, with the level 2, I killed the guy. Like I established the lead for my team. And especially for at least my safe laner. And suddenly my safe laner is like okay to be left alone, which means now like Jungle Maiden is active, right? Like you could if you have the mana. And so like, oh, I want to go pull. And you can do that. And now your passive like still helps your team out. And like
Mhm.
you have a bit more flexibility. And in the time you're doing a pull while you're out of lane, you're getting mana back. So that you can head back
Yes.
to the lane in a little bit, boom, pop your spells, and then it's like, I'm out of mana. I'll clarity, I'll go pull again. Clarity plus my passive means I'm gonna be at full mana again in like a minute, and then I'm back. We're gonna repeat it. Rinse and repeat.
I got you.
Nice. We aren't gonna go into the ult because ultimates her ult. Should we, actually? This is already longer than I kind of
Yeah,
imagined.
this
This
is
could
already long as hell. But I will say I often do skip my ult at 6. I don't usually take it at 6.
let's
I
talk
feel like
about
I
the
don't have
ult.
the mana for it.
Let's split
Let's
this
talk
up.
about the ult. Let's talk
Originally
about
I'd
it.
imagine we'll just do I was imagining this all in one, but I think let's split it up. Today, just about spells. All right,
Okay.
freezing field. What do you know about it?
Big AoE was recently nerfed slightly. Got kind of brought in a little bit with the latest patch. It does a whole bunch of like micro explosions through the entire area of the field, which makes like doing it on like a bristleback a nightmare. Does not pierce BKB. Can be zoned. It can be used wonderfully for zoning. So if like you're in like trees and you ult and they can't quite see you, you're still doing the damage. You'll hit invisible units. Um, it'll apply frostbite if you have an Agnum Scepter. It actually has a ton of damage. Like it will melt teams. Like it does a ton of damage. It does movement and attack slow. It's but you're super vulnerable in it, like 100%. Like you need BKB. Like if you blink and even if you blink and glimmer, if you're against someone with like an Earthshaker, they're still gonna stun you. So you almost need like Blink, Glimmer, BKB just to get your ult off at some games. It feels like, but anyways, that's what I know just off the top of my head. The exact damage numbers. Is
Yeah,
it
I'm not worried
two?
about the
Is
exact
it
damage.
two? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I don't want to save myself. I'm not gonna say. I'm not even gonna guess.
I wouldn't
All right.
if you tested me, I wouldn't know the numbers either. There's
So, anyways,
there's a couple elements from it that you missed that I think are actually pretty big. Do you want to take a
okay.
guess, or do you want me to just tell you?
Can you hint at me? Because like I'm not looking at it, but also like I just kind of just started going.
So one of them was a recent change. Her ultimate did not have this aspect, and then I forget when, but it was recently that they added this first element to it. And then for the other two that you
That is incredibly vague.
Yes.
Okay.
Then the other two, it helps with her survivability. That's the other hint.
She gets increased armor and is it increased armor and magic resistance?
Huh?
I'm trying to think. I think it's just increased armor. I think she gets increased armor. I think it's like 10 armor.
It is armor.
Yes, okay.
It's 20.
Really? 20. Okay,
20
nice.
armor.
I knew it was like a not an insignificant amount. I knew that. Okay. So 20 armor is even more than I thought. Okay.
Then the other two elements fit very thematically with the hero and has a similar effect as her Q.
I know why I got confused with the magic resistance. It's her talent gives her double the magic resistance.
Triple.
The talent for magic resistance on her aura?
She gets triple the effect, by the way.
Triple? See? This is why these conversations are so important. Okay.
Even
triple.
I saw PPD talk about CM. He didn't know that.
Really? Okay. See, like, isn't that crazy?
You can get to clearly PPD is like one of the highest players you can get, and you can
no
miss these
kidding.
things. There's so many details in Dota.
Yeah,
it's so easy to miss them, and that's why if you like want to play a hero, it's worth like doing this deep dive into them and like digging up all these like random mechanics and stuff.
And I thought I knew Maiden. I thought I was coming in prepared. Okay. All right. What was the other thing that I wasn't picking up on? So the armor, and what else?
It is a similar effect when she uses her Q.
It provides vision? I don't think it does.
I don't think
it provides vision. No,
you're
'cause if
making me
on lower
doubt
ground-
myself. It does
No,
not.
it doesn't.
doesn't.
Because if you're
I'm
on
gonna say
lower
it.
ground and you do vision, you won't see the higher upper ground. I've done that before. I've blind face checked an ult before. It doesn't work.
It slows.
Yeah, I did say it slowed. I did say that.
Movement and an attack?
I did. I said I did. Okay,
Oh,
the people
okay.
can go back. The people can go back. And now I'm questioning myself. If you go back in time in this video, you may hear me say it does movement and attack slow. I'm pretty sure I said it. It does movement and attack slow.
All right, that's
sure
fair. I'll type it because I'm gonna type up what we were talking about on the side as well.
Okay.
So maybe I just missed it. My bad. Yes.
Maybe I didn't say it. Maybe I meant to say it. Who knows?
Do you have to
I'm
get?
pretty sure I did.
Do you have to get hit by an explosion to be slowed?
The explosions happen so fast. It's almost instantaneous. I'm gonna say yes.
You do not.
So it's just as long as you're in the area. Okay.
The second you ult, you apply a massive AoE of slow and attack slow. Even if like a single explosion does not go off and you get killed immediately and stopped, that slow
Which
goes
happens
off.
very frequently. Yeah.
It does. That slow goes off.
Okay. I gotcha.
So pull up the ability. You can take a look at it.
Okay.
So
I got it.
one other thing, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, it's channeled, but what does that mean to you? Like you have a channeled ult?
What that means to me is like it sucks so bad because like I'll pick Maiden. Obviously, you're picking her first two picks unless you're in my ranks and you decide to, fifth pick Maiden. But you pick her right away as the support, like hard and soft. So you pick her, and then like the guy on the other side picks Ogre, and you're like, great, I'll never get an ult off this entire game. And then it just made like she is so vulnerable. It means that basically for me as a channeled spell, it means that if I'm doing it, I'm gonna die. Like that's I don't know, I know that's my thought process. And you're probably thinking, Alex, come on, man. You can get an ult off without dying. Get in those trees, you know what I mean? Get the itemization you need. But for the most part, if I'm ulting, I'm dying. That's just the way my games work. I think, am I wrong in saying that? Like your channels, you're super vulnerable. I made it so that like if I'm going in, it's a one-way trip, man. It's a one-way trip all the way back to the 5. You know what I mean? It's like I'm the 5 though. Who cares?
yes, you aren't wrong, but we can make use of this. So
Okay.
like, so first it's channeled, so it can be stopped. Like that's the first
Yeah,
thing that you mentioned. Like, okay, stuns, silences, mini stuns, those
yeah.
cancel my ult, and it sucks.
It does, Si. It feels bad. Especially when like you get like a mini stun shackle shot hit you and you're like, come on.
So let's just
Not
focus.
even the actual shackle, you got a mini stun me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So let's just focus on that aspect.
Okay.
How can you go around that? You don't want to get it stopped. So what can you do?
I mean, so stay out of vision. So like the easiest thing to do in my eyes is okay, there's two ways you can do it. You can go glimmer, right? But if you don't have a blink, you got to like run in. The way if I okay, let's assume I don't have blink because you can blink glimmer.
Mhm.
But let's say you haven't because I'll build blink. Sorry, I'll build a glimmer before I build a blink.
Mhm.
If that's the kind of game I'm going for, I actually don't build blink that often on Maiden. I don't know if that's good or not, but that's another conversation. But I will glimmer first, run into position, and then ult, and then just come out into view. So I'll get a couple hits off and die. If I have the farm because the games at lower brackets last for 2 hours, so I get to build like a BKB as well. I can get in there and BKB to kind of prevent myself from being stunned, but then they'll just focus fire me and I die. If I have a blink and I blink in and ult and die. I did I mention I die? I don't know. Like that's so I usually okay. I know I'm kind of running on a tangent now, but maybe this is one of the things I do wrong. I tend to initiate fights with freezing field. If I have a blink dagger, I will initiate the fight with freezing field. Am I crazy?
So this is kind of pushing us into the second point. So
Okay. I'll step back then. I'll
no, it's
step
okay.
back.
It's okay. See, the first point is actually what you said. Like, if you initiate and you know that they can cancel your ability, they're gonna do it, right? They see
Yeah,
you ulting,
absolutely.
they're gonna throw a stun because they haven't used it yet. So,
Yes.
aside from itemization like Glimmer and BKB, you can wait. You just wait to see them
If they
use their
use their
abilities.
stuns. Yeah.
Going back, we said it before. The ability's on cooldown. This is a period of weakness. That is when you go in. And then you get to channel for like, I don't know, 6 seconds, let's say, before their ability's off cooldown, and then they stun you. But that was 6 seconds, you got to go.
Okay.
And that's only possible if, like you said, you don't initiate with it. So you
So
could
you're
go
saying
in first, you could
practice.
QW, but then maybe you wait a bit and see, like, let's see if they throw
Hmm.
out a couple stuns before I ult.
You know what's funny is now that you mention that, that's exactly how I play Ricky. It sounds crazy. Like Ricky's an invisible carry, Alex. What the hell does that have to do with Crystal Maiden? But I don't initiate a fight as Ricky. I wait. I let the fight start, and then I'm like, okay, where's their squishies? Where's their sniper? Where's their Lina? Where's their? And then I blink strike into their squishies once everyone else is kind of engaged in their targets, and then I start wreaking havoc. So it's almost the same idea. Don't. So what you're saying is wait for the stuns, bait out the stuns, and then jump in
Mm-hmm.
because then they have to either focus fire you down, which you now you have the bonus armor anyway, and you can actually get more damage off. Interesting,
Yeah.
huh?
Or like you said, as Ricky, you're looking for like the squishies and stuff. In this game,
Yeah,
it's like, okay, I see Ogre at this part of the fight, and I see who's someone? Silencer on the right side. Silencer uses Glimpse and his ultimate somewhere. Ogre still has a stun. You just position, like, bring yourself to the fight where the disruptor is, because Ogre's not in range to
saying
stun.
silencer and disruptor interchangeably.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah,
Disruptor.
yeah.
Disruptor. Or like, go to somewhere like, oh, a fight is split up on the river. This side has no stuns. I'm gonna go over there and ult because I can't get my ultimate canceled.
Interesting.
The
Okay.
other part is that sometimes it is okay to initiate with this ult. Kind of annoying, right? Because now it's like it's now the other side, so it's hard to know what's right or wrong. Let me we'll pose it another way. Let's say you see a Phoenix use her ultimate. What
Okay.
is your reaction?
Auto and ping the crap out of it. Ping
You
the egg.
have to focus the
Yeah.
Phoenix egg. It creates
Oh yeah.
attention in the fight. Sometimes that's okay to do as Crystal Maiden. When you start ulting, you draw attention to yourself, and everyone has to look at you instead of the Sven, who now gets 2 to 3 seconds to just kill whoever he wants,
Call on somebody, yeah.
right? So sometimes it is okay to initiate as CM, especially if you're like, let's say you have an Enigma on your team. You could wait for Enigma to ult, but then sometimes it's also okay to ult, draw people into yourself, and then hey, Enigma gets to get a full black hole off. Who's more important, like your ult or his ult? So keeping that in mind and realizing like even if we don't use such a big example of like Enigma, let's say like a PA is like
I was
fighting.
just gonna say, because if there's an Enigma on your team, you've already lost probably. At my level, you've already lost. He's gonna be in the jungle the whole time. He's not gonna get a black hole. Just abandon and get your life together. Do another round.
Yeah, okay, we'll use a different example. Let's say it's like PA fighting your carry, like the Sven.
Okay.
It could be pretty close. But if you ult next to her, she suddenly has a choice. She's like, I keep fighting this Sven, or I have to try to bash this PA or this Crystal Maiden to stop her from ulting because I'm taking a lot of damage in this ult. It puts her in this difficult situation where she has to, on the spot, decide, like, who am I taking more damage from? Like Sven or Crystal Maiden? Or like, is it better for my team to stop Crystal Maiden or to keep focusing Sven? And don't forget, she's like getting slowed, attack slow and move slow during this ult. So your ultimate, it can be a great like zoning tool. It can be a great damage tool, but it can also just be this like, guys, you have to deal with me or you will lose this fight. Like if you're all fighting in my ultimate, we're gonna win. You have to focus the Crystal Maiden, who, like you said, now I've got 20 bonus armor. You know, if they don't have spells to stop me and they have to right click, I'm suddenly way tankier, and that's kind of why they buffed it.
So what you're saying is that Crystal Maiden into first item blade mail.
But it doesn't stop. Blade mail. Okay, I know that was like kind of a joke, but
that was half a joke.
Realistically, why doesn't that work for everyone else out there?
Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it though? If you're taking a ton of physical damage and they can't stun you, they got to kill you. Is that not crazy?
The problem is that blade mail solves the same issue that the armor does. So,
but you're reflecting a ton, but she doesn't have that much health anyway. So
yeah. So like so like the ult, you've got all that bonus armor. People don't want to right click you. I mean, they kind of have to.
Well, anyway, I don't think people realize there's bonus armor. They're right clicking you anyway.
Maybe. But you're kind of already addressing that with the bonus armor. You aren't so worried about right clicks. That's kind of what blade mail deters, is like being right clicked or being hit with magic spells.
They see the spikes, yeah.
Yeah, which, yes, kind of like, okay, now they're forced to like take some blade mail damage, but yeah, she doesn't have much health anyways, so you know. Rather, I'd prefer to address like, okay, now I can't be stunned because I'm invis with the Glimmer Cape, or I'm like BKB'd and people can't actually, like, they have to have some kind of BKB piercing ability. So you're like solving a new issue with your item.
Is there a stun that pierces BKB?
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind telling me what it is? I can't think.
I mean, there's a lot. You have, okay, well, there's like Enigma ult, Chrono, bashes.
Oh yes, yes. Okay, bash. Yeah, because Slardar can bash, but he can't Slytherin crush.
Venge swap, Bat Rider ult, Bane ult. That's kind of another thing to have a quick idea of like all the different immunity piercing abilities. Silencer ult.
But Chrono will just freeze it. It'll still continue after.
No, it stops.
It stops?
Yeah, it stops. That would be crazy. Yeah, actually, I like your idea way more. I think that's so cool. Everyone should just stop because it's a bubble, and then like as it ends, everyone just goes back to what they were doing. Yeah, all the channels and everything. Cool? That would be sick. I love it.
But it worked though better in my head than it does in reality, obviously.
Gonna touch with Ice Frog. But yeah, that's like the all 4 abilities. And okay, I guess we didn't do the same breakdown as we did with the others, so we'll go through this real quick. The radius, the reason I don't know the damage that well is because, kind of like you said, the explosions are a bit random. There is a method to the madness. It's like 4 quadrants that it like goes in order around. So technically, the closer you are to Crystal Maiden, the more likely you are to hit by an explosion. My dog is like on the side. I'm like trying to pet it with my foot. That's why I'm like off camera a bit.
I can't see you.
Yeah. So because the damage is kind of random, I use the ult as a way to like, we're gonna do damage. I don't really know how much we're gonna do, but like we're doing damage. So even I don't pay that much attention to like the exact damage values.
Mhm.
But the slow I think is pretty useful to know that like sometimes even if you're about to die and you're not really that worried about damage, like even if they're like at the edge of your ult and it's like, okay, they're really not likely to take much damage, but they're still
Yeah,
hit by the same slow. And a 60, like a 30% move slow, 60 attack slow, like that's pretty significant. Um, and so especially if they're fighting your carries at the edge of your ultimate, it's like okay to ult just for the slow that far out. Plus you're now further away from the fight, right? Because it's a pretty big radius. So now you're a
yeah.
little safer because you're further out.
I
And
think that's one of the things, right? Like this to pull off the ult, like you're in the fight, like you are right in the fight. That's
yeah,
why, like, it's basically a death wish. It's a one-way trip. Like you are so in the fight when you ult.
hmm
Because I've tried to like do it on peripheries, but then you're really only using half the radius effectively, and like it never works right. Like unless, yeah, I don't know.
that's
I've
only if
not
you're
yet.
looking for damage, right?
Yes, but
So if
why
you're,
wouldn't you though? Right? That's
because
the whole thing about doing
sometimes all you
damage.
need is the slow. That's the thing.
Okay.
And a bit of damage. Like they're still gonna get hit randomly a little bit. Oh, the last thing on the aghanims for the ult, I've never
I've
gotten it.
never built Agnums either. That seems so stupid. It seems like one of the worst.
I think
Like
it's
I'll build Agnums on like obviously like I like it on Ogre for the double stun and stuff like that, but this seems horrible. Agnums on like Skywrath is amazing. This is trash. I don't know, whatever.
yeah,
I'd never have
it's
once built it.
like you said, you draw so much attention to yourself that it's like it's a little hard to get this to go off twice. And
Yeah,
roots are not the most powerful. Like double stun, that sounds sick, but it's like root. I can still just Manta or BKB it, and then I won't
and,
like if I BKB, I'm not even affected by the second root. So
and it's the delay. Like you have to get it off for like 1.75 seconds before it even happens.
yeah, you're like a
So you
queen
have
of
to
pain.
survive
You
for like,
blink out.
yeah,
You're like there's so many things. So
yeah.
I haven't gotten it. Maybe it'll get changed in the future, and then this video will be like dated or whatever. But
Spoiler, I think
um,
it sucks.
and then the huge mana cost. So I guess there was more
Yeah.
on this ult. The huge mana cost. That's kind of why you can skip it at level 6 sometimes.
Yeah, I
Um,
almost always do,
just
honestly.
because if you go through your abilities and look at your mana cost, like sit in the game, pull up your hero at level 6, look at your mana pool, and you're like, I can't cast any abilities. Right? Realizing like the low cooldown abilities of Q and W, you want to be able to cycle through those. And then you realize like I get to use those once if I use my ultimate. And now
Yeah,
I don't have any mana.
'cause Maiden starts with more strength than she does intelligence,
Which is
believe it or not.
crazy. In hero,
So weird.
right? I think she's actually the dumbest hero to start. I think she has the lowest intelligence.
No, Ogre has to be worse. Okay, wait. No, no, Ogre has to be worse. Okay, wait. Crystal Maiden is 6. This is lore breaking if Ogre is smarter than Crystal Maiden.
He's
Hold
got
on.
2 heads.
16 Crystal Maiden. Where's my Ogre? There's no way. There's no way. We're so off topic now. 15 Ogre's dumber.
What does he
15
get?
Ogre
What is an int growth off of
2.5.
level 1?
2.5 a level.
What's CM's?
I don't remember. I think it's
Oh,
3.3
CM's
or something.
3.3. Okay, she's not
Yeah.
the dumbest. Woo!
See? Yes.
I think she was at one point. Maybe I'm crazy. Point is, she's way down there. So
Yeah,
sometimes you
she
do
gets
have to make the choice.
smarter over time.
And if you like choose, like if you're building some stat items to give you mana, it's easier to take the ult at level 6. If you're like rushing a Glimmer Cape, which gives you no mana and it's gonna cost mana, it's like, all right, I'm not even gonna get to ult. Like, let's not take this quite yet. Let's take it a couple levels later when I've gotten, a bit more intelligence.
Hmm.
This is the reality of improving in Dota. A lot of people want like a quick 5-minute, one tip, 1,000 MMR video, but I didn't get to Immortal like looking for those videos. I every patch I sit for like an hour looking at wards. I look through the abilities of heroes I'm going to play. This is like the boring stuff that people don't want to do, but that's why in the game I don't sit there and think, should I have Q'd? Should I have W'd? Like, what should I have done? I've thought about it beforehand. I've thought about these scenarios. Like we just talked about it. In the
And now you're
future,
back to those instincts you're talking about.
yeah,
And
in
the
the future,
intuition.
you'll have
Yeah.
a better idea. Am I supposed to take W or E level 2? Now you have an idea like, I think I can get kills with Q and W. Or like, this is a really passive lane. Let me just take my passive level 2. Like, it's been preformed for you. I know it's like an hour at this point. But you play, this is one Crystal Maiden game you could have played and lost. And like, what would you have learned in one game? Really not that much.
I'd probably have been tilted, honestly.
Yeah. Instead, we just had to like sit down, have a chat. If you don't have someone to chat with, like you can still do this alone. You can read through the Dota wiki pages. I can't tell you I've read through all the mechanics on Dota Wiki. I may
And a lot of
forget
people
them.
don't realize is
I
that
may
when you
forgot
hover
them,
over skills,
but I read
you
them.
often can hold Alt and it'll show you additional information too.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
There's just like a lot of these like random things in Dota that
Mhm.
it's worth taking the time and like watching these videos to do.
Yes, that's right. These movie length videos.
Next time, we're gonna do some actual demonstrations. I suspect that'll be the more popular video. Um, but I think both are good. I definitely know some people don't like those all. So thank you for joining, Alex. I hope
Oh,
this was
my pleasure.
helpful.
Thanks for having me. It's fantastic. Oh, it's incredibly helpful. Thank you
Well,
so much. A lot of fun.
yep. All right. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Goodbye.